Hey family, welcome to We All Need Each Other, the podcast from Transformation Ministries.
Hey, welcome to another episode of We All Need Each Other podcast. I am actually here in my dining room with my favorite guest on the show. My husband, Kory Lantz, is here to join us. Kory, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. I love Dan and I love Aaron, but you are my favorite host.
Nice. Have you ever done a podcast in your dining room?
Yes.
Really?
We did one over there just a couple months ago.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That was us together, yeah. Well, this is cool. I hope that people listening can feel like you're just across the table from us. We have coffee in our hands, so hopefully you can just feel like you're a part of this conversation. We didn't plan it super well because whenever I do anything with Kory, he doesn't like to plan. He's not a planner. He is off the cuff, likes to wing things, and I'm not. So usually when I do stuff with him, I'm forced to kind of go off the cuff. So it's just gonna be a chill conversation. So I would introduce you, but I think a lot of the listeners probably know who you are, what you do. You're a leader at Transformation. So why don't you tell us something that people probably don't know about you?
People probably don't know. I love turtle hunting. I love whiteboards.
Whiteboards?
I love the color blue. I'm an avid Notre Dame football fan.
Yeah.
And a diehard Duke basketball fan.
Yes.
And I love to write poems.
That's true.
And hey,
you haven't written me one in a while.
I need to do that for sure. I love to make people smile, to make people laugh. I think when people smile and laugh, it's just good for themselves, but also those around them. So
true.
That's a big goal for my life is to make people smile and laugh.
I've seen that firsthand. Yeah. A lot of people see Kory in, transformation world, but I get to see him as husband and father. And I think the cool thing is that all of those things that you said that you love, you've passed down to our kids. Mm-hmm. So you turtle hunt with our kids. Our kids love turtles. We talked about having a turtle farm at our house.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But even the sports thing, Duke basketball, Notre Dame, you've passed all of those loves, except for whiteboards. I don't know.
Avery likes whiteboards.
Maybe you can teach them how to write poems, because we're not there yet.
There.
But she does like whiteboards.
You got to teach them how to spell first.
Yeah. Homeschooling. Kind of rough. So anyways, okay, so we could, talk about whatever all day, but we are here to talk about some really cool stuff going on at Transformation. It's been, 2 years kind of in the process of happening, just some big changes, some big growth happening. We're so excited for what God is truly doing at Transformation. So we've kind of named this the Deeper campaign. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to hear, Kory, your heart, take us back to the very beginning when this whole thing started to get to fall on your heart and the things that God was kind of processing with you. What was it? Was it why did this start? Was it the building was getting too cramped? Were things getting too small? Why another building for Transformation? Mm-hmm. And what was the why behind that?
Yeah, it's crazy when you said 2 years. It's been over 2 years since this journey started, but it feels like it's been just a week. It's gone so fast, but it was in spring of 2020 that just in some quiet time with the Lord, God laid on my heart the word deeper. And I didn't know what that meant. At the time, our staff was thriving. We were unified. We had just doing some great work.
And this is in the middle of a pandemic, right?
No, it's kind of pandemic just started.
Okay.
Started, yeah. And but we were just in a sweet spot, We had really developed a good model that was working and just a lot of really, really good things happening. Mm-hmm. Kind of at a spot where I was like, we could land here for the next 10 years and I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
But God kept saying deeper. I didn't know what it meant. I shared it with you. I said, let's just pray about this. I don't know what this means.
Yeah, I remember that.
So for the next 6 months, it was more of just a you and I thing that we prayed about. Come fall of 2020, I had a conversation with a friend of mine after we just got done running the dunes. I'm in Michigan. We were super tired. Went to grab a cup of coffee. And we just started talking about, I shared with him for the first time kind of what this idea of deeper meant. And really started to get clarity on, this is what God means by deeper. And really we were focused on at the time mostly 12 to 18-year-olds, 6 to 12th graders.
Yep.
And we started, God gave us the kind of the clarity of that during that time of saying, let's go earlier, get them earlier, and stay with them later, and kind of give the age range of 0 to 25.
Of people that, Transformation's investing in.
That we're investing in.
Yeah.
And just to continue the holistic approach, but go get them earlier and stay with them a little bit longer.
Yep.
And obviously to do that, we were going to need some more space. Our space was conducive really for what we were doing.
Yeah.
If we did anything else, added any other elements, we were just going to be completely out of space. We were already just, not all our staff has a desk, and we have to time things out where we can't have 2 programs going on at the same time. We have to have one start and then they leave and then the other one would come in.
Right.
And so even during the pandemic, we had to go into 2 different locations for a whole year.
Right.
Just limited on space. It was a lot better than houses, but limited on space. And so God started, as he gave clarity of what this was, investing in 0 to 25-year-olds holistically, and also growing kind of the amount of people that we can invest in. We were going to need more space. And that's how the building kind of journey started to happen.
Cool. So you get this, and I remember talking about this with you, and I feel like we're supposed to, and I kept hearing you say, I feel like we're supposed to do more and more, and then it changed to deeper and deeper, and these words that God gave you along the way. And so so we go back, okay, we need a building. What was your first in your mind? Were you like, did you have an idea? Did you find this building right away? Like, what was your process of finding the building?
Yeah, so we love our current space, and so it made sense to look around what's around us. And there's 2 vacant storefronts to the south of us, and then there's a bar next to that. And so I started saying, let's just check and see if this is available. So we went to the bar owner and said, are you interested in selling? He actually said, yes, we are.
Yeah.
So then that started the conversation of like meeting with them, the husband and wife from the bar, and you and I met with them. And remember some of those meetings? They were late at night.
Well, they were late at night because the bar owner, they were a married couple, and he kept saying we need to talk to the wife, but she would only come in. Her hours were like 10 to 4 a.m. or 11 to 5 a.m. or something. And so you and I would have to find a babysitter to come stay at our house while our kids slept, and then we had to like go out and meet with them at the bar at like midnight.
Yep.
And we were always laughing. We're like, hey, we need a babysitter to come over so we can like go to the bar.
And they loved you.
They did.
Especially the wife loved you. Thought you were
That's why I always had to be with you.
Yeah. But come to find out, we made an offer on the building, and they said, nah, that's way too low. And I said, okay, counter us. And they said, we'll counter you in a week. And this was December of 2020. And they ended up never countering us.
Right.
And we kept asking them, and they just weren't really ready to really make the offer. So January of 2021, we said, hey, let's take a step back and let's spend a couple months or as much time as we need to really dream about what the 0 to 25-year-old ministry model would look like. And so we took some time with the staff and some intense dreaming time with staff, with board, mentors, community members, parents, and really started to realize that putting even more structure to what it would look like. That being an early learning center for 0 to 5-year-olds. We wanted to be able to look at a mom when she was maybe 16 or 17 that's about ready to have a baby and say, hey, we can support you.
Yeah.
And not just, we'll support you and just, good luck. Hopefully we can be around some, but like we have a structure for you. You can actually have this child and then send this child to the early learning center, and it'll be a nurturing, caring environment. You can go find a job. We'll help you with that.
Yeah.
And so that's why the early learning center has been such a critical piece. We did start City Light Kids last year, which is our K through 5 program. And that was just with 12 kids. And we want to grow that more and more this year. I think we're going to have 20 or 30. But we want to be able to offer that where they can come 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Right now, they're only able to come just a couple days a week.
Okay.
So doing more for them, then we have our ISI 6th through 12th grade program. Then we have our alumni program for those who graduate high school. And so that's our 18 to 25-year-olds that we're just trying to support in a whole different way because they have different life situations that come their direction.
So when you got it almost felt like the door closed a little bit when the bar owners were not working with you anymore. But you did not take that. I mean, that wasn't like a bummer. It didn't get you down. You actually then went and started dreaming more and saying, okay, if this isn't going to work, God, what do you have? I know you put deeper on my mind. I'm going to dream for what transformation needs. in a perfect world.
And we didn't put a time limit on that. We spent time doing that. But after 3 months, it was like, wow, we have a pretty good clarity on what we're supposed to be doing for this community. About that same time, this same friend that I had told last fall about this idea of going deeper called me and said, hey, there's a building just right around the corner from your space. It's 21,000 square feet. It's an old warehouse. I said, no way.
And it was for sale, right?
For sale. He said, have you ever seen it? I said, man, I know everything in my neighborhood. I've been here for 12 years. I've driven by all these streets. Well, I've driven by this building probably thousands of times, but never seen it. It was so overgrown with trees.
Yeah.
And so Dan and I, Director of Operations, who's also an amazing host of this podcast, he and I went in the building in March of 2021. And when we got in there, we kind of looked at each other like, dude, this could be it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty run down. It was pretty dilapidated in a lot of ways, but we kind of had this feeling of this could be the spot.
Yeah.
And so we ended up bringing in a whole bunch of contractors and key people to say, hey, does this look like possible for us?
Yeah.
What kind of budget are we looking at? Does it have good enough bones to even buy this space? And so that checked out. We made an offer in April 2021. A couple months went down, back and forth of negotiating different things, and we got an amazing deal on a huge building just 2 blocks away from our current space.
Yeah.
And we closed in June of 2021.
So about a year from when God really put that deeper on your heart, a year later. The cool thing is that I just want to stop and pause and focus on this real quick, because this is how God has worked with us in the past. And there's a lot of examples I could give, but one I think of is the current space we have. We call it the TC, the Transformation Center. We almost bought a different building before we got that one. And it's just cool because I think what happens is God gives you a word and you start to follow that and you're like, I think God's calling me to this. And then we have like our size dream and we're like, oh man, if we could get the bar, or if we could get this thing, this would work. This would be perfect. And then God shuts the door. And then we think, oh no, what's happening? And then he opens this new door that is way bigger than what we could have ever dreamed, thought, imagined. It's bigger and it's actually scarier because it's like, wait a minute. The other one felt doable. This one feels out of control, out of my hands. God, you have to show up for this to happen. And this has happened multiple times.
And it's so interesting because if God showed us what the actual kind of end game was, I think we'd be like, that's too big.
That's too big.
That's crazy.
Yes.
So when we were in the house, 800 square foot house. And
you're talking like back in the ministry days. Back,
years ago.
Yes.
And then we were looking at that bank that was very small.
Okay, wait. So yes, it was like when we were in the houses, this is like way back.
We were looking at like a bigger house. And then we're like, no, let's go bigger than that. Let's go a bank. This little bank.
Yes.
That was so tiny. But it was like a commercial piece of property.
Right.
And we were a week away from making an offer. Yeah. And then they called and said, hey, it's been bought.
And we
were like, oh no.
I remember sitting in our kitchen looking at each other like, it's over. The dream's over. What are we going to do? I mean, I guess we're just going to be in houses forever. You know, ministry will always take place in like 10 different houses. Yeah. And then out of nowhere,
God brought this bigger space.
Which we're currently in.
3 times bigger than the bank. And we wouldn't have, if we would have looked at that space early on, we would have said, this is way too big, too much space. We can't sustain this.
We can't raise the money. We can't sustain it. We can't maintain it. So
fast forward to then this building, the same thing. If we would have been like God saying, go deeper, and then we would have went to this space a couple weeks later, we would have been like, this is insane.
Too much.
No way. We cannot sustain this, can't raise money for this. It's huge.
Right.
But the way God does it is beautiful. Like you said, he just gives us just enough. Every time so that we keep having that faith.
Yep.
And here we are now with this building and we're doing it and there's still just enough faith. And I wonder what he's going to do in the future. Like, what's this big thing that he has for us that if he showed us now, we'd be like, no way.
Yeah.
We would feel too much fear. We would
be overwhelmed.
So it's just cool. It's really cool.
It's like he shines light on that next step. And then you're like, oh, I can take this step. And then you take that step and then he shines light on the next step. Like he's very gracious and kind as he moves people along in what they're called in. Because you're right, if he shined light on the entire staircase, you'd be like, that is too far of a climb, I can't do it. And so I feel like that's how he's interacted with us. I know that's how he's interacted with so many of his children and followers. And so I love that. So I think one of the biggest things as we get the space is exciting. We realized it's possible, this is a good structure to work with. And then we realized how much money it was going to take to redo it, which was a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
How much are we, like the capital campaign, how much are we trying to raise for the building?
Yeah, we're trying to raise $4.75 million.
Which the word million has never
Million.
The word million has never entered our vocabulary before.
Nope.
And so that was a huge, how did you feel? I mean, I know that you have enough sense to know it was going to be up there, but how did you feel?
When we closed in the building in June of last year, so a year ago.
Yeah.
We were thinking around $2.5 million, which was like, whoo, that's going to be a stretch, but let's go for it. Our biggest capital campaign at this point had been $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives a little context to the jump to $2.5 million. While we started getting to the weeds of things and started dreaming about what the space could be and how to utilize it, and just trying to not think about what do we need for the next year, but what do we need for the next 10 years?
Exactly.
And so we ended up making the space, adding a mezzanine on it, second story. So it's going to be 36,000 square feet. And we're looking at 4.75. And yeah, the first time I started seeing those numbers creep up there, I was like, holy cow. But every time I was had this moment of freak out.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I had that freak out moment, I would feel this overwhelming sense of peace, literally just kind of rushed through my body. And it's happened so many times. And I know it's God just saying, hey, just keep having faith. But I got you.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. Just relax.
Yeah.
I'm in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been super affirming because we've seen his hand in this so many times. I mean, one, just through the financial support already.
Yeah.
Also through people's just excitement about it, the parents' excitement, the way people showed up for our benefit a couple months ago, just the volunteers that have already come out and given their time and energy and sweat to help with this building, the way our contractors have come alongside us and been phenomenal to work with. So there's just story after story after story of God's faithfulness in it. So
there's definitely, I know when, you're following God and he's calling you to something, it's not a cakewalk, right? It takes a lot of faith. We have to, trust him. We know we can't do things in our own strength, but there's also adversity that comes along and things happen that you're like, wait, what? This shouldn't. And talk about what's been happening currently in the space. It's been kind of getting broken into some. Things are getting stolen. And I feel like that could frustrate us and be like, wait, what in the world?
Yeah.
But talk about that a little bit. And the signs helped.
We've had a lot of break-ins because it's an abandoned warehouse building that's been abandoned for years upon years. And I think people are wanting to steal the copper and anything in there that they can scrap and make some money. So we've had a couple different break-ins. More recently, we've had some more high-tech break-ins where people have stolen some of the electrical stuff on the outside of the building. And our staff's been like, man, what's going on with this? Why is this happening? It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
What do we have to do to we're losing money every time this happens. But a couple things, we've done the practical things of getting some better cameras, some better lighting, some kind of temporary fencing. We got a sign that I felt was very important because it says Transformation Ministries, Future Community Center for Youth and Children. We would love for you to be involved.
Which I really think that
we've never had anyone break in our current space.
Right,
We've had
never.
no vandalism.
Right.
And we've been here for 5 years.
Right.
And so I think people in the community respect Transformation. If they know it's ours,
yep.
There will be a lot of people. This is crazy to some people. I'm sure they're listening yeah, right. Robbers are robbers and thieves are thieves. But if they see it's Transformation, they'll be like, whoa, that's like my, daughter or son or niece or nephew or
is connected
neighbor's
to that somewhere.
Friend is going to be as part of that. I don't want to mess with that. They're doing great work for our community. So we haven't seen any break-ins since we put the signs up. But one of the things that I thought was really cool is we just thought about let's just pray for these people.
Yep.
So our staff just spent some time just like, let's pray for the people that are breaking in, and let's let God bring them to us. If they need help, like bring them to us so that we can just help them in a way that's legal, you know?
Right.
So there's many of those things along the way. I know one thing we talk about a lot in our ministry is John 10:10. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus comes to give us life and life to the full, or life of abundance. And I just think the enemy is trying to destroy us in a lot of times. And he's trying to destroy our vision and our plans. And he's going to attack our staff. He's going to attack our students and our families and our family. Yeah. And he's going to try to send people stealing stuff or vandalizing. Like, it's just part of the journey of following God. And so I don't look at it as like, this is, like, oh, are we supposed to be doing this?
No. It's like, this is a part of it, and we can't let that.
It's just every time it happens, I'm like, this is part of the journey. Yeah. And and Jesus comes to give us life. And so let's continue to embrace that side of things. But no, there is an enemy out there that's not wanting us to expand God's kingdom at South Bend. Right.
I just wanted to pause right here and say thank you. Thank you for joining us and being here with us on the We All Need Each Other podcast. If you want to support us, please don't hesitate to stop by our website, www.transformation58.com/give. Thanks. We all need each other.
There's a really cool story that I think of. I know you've told me, so I knew I could bring it up. But we have a girl on staff that she was a part of the program. So she came in as a middle schooler.
Yeah, my 7th grader. Maybe 6th.
Yeah, and she went all the way through ISI. She graduated. Now she's working on staff for Greater Impact. And so she is, it's really cool to come full circle. And as you were sharing the vision of the building, she was really touched. Can you just talk about that, how cool it is? Like a perspective of, I know the parents are so excited, the kids are so excited. What was her reaction?
We're sharing the vision, but specifically this is the first time I was sharing the number, our budget number with the staff. And I was like, man, this is a lot of money. What are they going to think? Like, I'm not getting paid enough. Why are they raising all this money for this? Or, we don't even have money for this. And whenever you bring up money, you're a little nervous about how the staff's going to receive it. But this particular staff member who grew up in our programs, and she was just kind of like, wait, what? Like 4.75? Not for Notre Dame? I said, yeah, not for Notre Dame. She said, not for downtown South Bend? I said, no. She's like, for our neighborhood. For my future kids. Yeah. For, my family. In this neighborhood. And she was just blown away that we would invest that type of money in her community. Yeah. And money's not invested like this in this community. Yeah. And so that was really encouraging to see her kind of respond that way. And we've seen other people in the community respond the same way. Yeah. Like, wow, this is awesome. We're putting millions of dollars in our neighborhood. Right. And so that's been like a fresh point in our sales to continue to push forward.
In our neighborhood, it reaches everyone in South Bend. It's not like, well, we're just here in our little neighborhood of South Bend. Like anyone from South Bend can come here.
But our neighborhood there's a lot of vacant storefronts. If you look at our current building, well, actually to the right and left of us, they're vacant. And then across the street, there's 2 vacant buildings. There's just a lot of vacant buildings, and it's not a high traffic area for, like commercial stuff, restaurants and things. Right. So I think hopefully that's one of the things that when we invest money here, we'll show people we're serious about, investing our resources into this community, and hopefully others will follow suit with that.
I think one of my favorite things as I look back at the process was, it was like a cold winter night, and we took a lot of the ISI moms who we get to hang out with weekly. We took them over to the space, and we prayed over the space, and just hearing their prayers and seeing their joy and excitement for the space, and just walking around and getting to dream with these moms that have really become some of our closest friends. But just knowing like their kids were going to be here and their grandkids were going to be here, and they got to dream of like, what would I want in this space, and like be a part of it. That's what I love about, we're not just acquiring something that's already been used. Like, we're getting to really dream, and like they're getting to dream, and they're getting excited. one of our ISI moms, she does things, she leads these circles for other parents where they're really getting to share their emotions and like really getting to share like how they're feeling and what God's doing and process a lot of stuff. And she was even saying like, oh, I could, have my circle groups for moms and people here. And it was funny because they were finally saying, is it time that the parents get a spot?
Right.
The kids have been getting all the spots and like, you're always doing stuff for the kids, but can the parents have a hangout? And we were like, yeah, a parent resource center would be awesome. And so it's just been a really, really cool process. I'm so excited. It's been just a lot of faith and a lot of joy in the midst of it. As we start to close up, is there anything on your heart left to share? Is there anything that you feel like people should know about in the coming? I guess kind of like, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Where are we at financially?
Yeah.
That would be
Currently financially, we're $569,000 away from what we're calling the starting line, because we're realizing the starting line, once we get there, that's when we can actually do the work. The building is not the finish line. It's the starting line. And so we're $569,000 away. We're trying to do two things. One, we're trying to tell people who have already given, who are, given in the past, to just tell one person about what we're doing.
Yeah. And
if you're excited about it, tell them with excitement and just let them know that there is a need, and ask them, invite them if they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Not a pressure thing, but just tell some people that, we're also trying to get more people, just more givers involved. And so we want to have an army of people who have some skin in the game. And we've had students who've given $5, $10. Avery, our oldest daughter, has given $20.
Yeah.
I spoke at a camp down in Arkansas, and a little 6th grade boy came up and gave $20. So all those gifts matter.
Yeah.
And we want to have an army of people who are giving financially.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get more givers. Don't worry about the amount. Every bit of money truly matters to help us get to the starting line. But then continue to tell people about it as well. We've started construction. We're ripping that building, apart right now to get it ready to kind of the rebuild. And so it's super exciting. So much action happening down there. We're hoping to have this money raised in the next couple months, and so we can start the new year ready to go. Okay,
so before we do go, because I realize this is an important piece, when is like the dream to have it ready to go? Like the hope. Obviously, construction always takes longer than we think, but if you had a perfect world, when would we be in the building using it?
Yeah, so it's August now, so a little less than a year from now.
Okay.
We expect to be in the building. So July, August of next year.
2023?
2023, expect to be in the building. And we want to be ready to go by September 1 with fall programming. Keep in mind, of the 36,000 square feet, about 26,000 will be mostly finished. The other 10,000 will be kind of a phase 2 as we kind of see the needs and expand in the years to come.
Yeah.
But so we'll be in it next year at this time. Maybe we'll do a podcast again.
Maybe.
And just kind of celebrate
in the new building.
In the new building. Yeah.
So, okay, that's awesome. So being in it, that's so exciting. And then you said how much more needs to be raised? You said about
$569,000.
So about $500,000 left, which is amazing to think. That means that what? $4 million has already been raised.
Committed.
Yep. Amazing. So awesome. But it is that $500,000 left. It does feel like getting over that hump would be a hurdle, would be huge.
It still feels like God's been so faithful raising over $1 million for us. But it still feels like, how are we going to raise $500,000?
Right.
What?
Right.
Where's this money going to come from?
Right. That's a big, big chunk.
It feels like this constant state of faith.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be there. I know when we get the money, we'll still feel that faith. Like, what are we going to do as we're expanding and growing, and how's this all going to work? So it's a good spot to be. Yeah. I think to feel that faith.
It's humbling.
Yeah, it is.
And I know you've talked about, once we finally get the building, then it's maintaining the building and it's maintaining staff and needing we've hired a couple more staff that we know as we get in this new space we need. And so, it's like it keeps going. The journey keeps going, and we're just excited. I know personally from my experience bringing people in, not just financially, like any ways that people are volunteering or giving towards it. It just feels like we're all in this huge family of God, and we're all needed. This podcast is called We All Need Each Other. We truly all need each other. And we all play different roles, whether people are bringing up food or mentoring, or they're a staff member, or they are giving financially. And I've seen people sacrifice. Like, it's not, we don't take it lightly when people give a lot of money. We are so humbled that they would sacrifice what God's given them and believe in what he's doing here. I mean, it's a really big deal. And so
it's crazy to see how people hear from God and then move into like an action step to support the work that we're doing here in South Bend.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. And you mentioned all the different ways, but people give their time, talents, and treasures to invest in our community. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most humbling, amazing things that we get to be a part of. Yeah. I'd love to hear, as we close, just as you step back, we've been doing this now 13 years. As you step back just for a second, you don't get to do this very often because you're in the trenches of ministry, you're mothering our 4 children and all those things, doing this podcast. What do you feel as you reflect back on these last 13 years to think, like, did you ever think that we would be here? No. Raising this sort of money, having this building when we started just a little 600 square foot home. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Super grateful, humbled, so humbled. I feel like I've gotten to just know God at such a, like, seeing how he has worked through this has caused me to be like, wow, like, this is who he is. He's so much bigger than what I thought. And I think that's the thing that keeps coming up is I have all these small dreams and he just constantly blows them up and does something different and does something better. And I'm like, I've been very humbled. I'm just kind of like, wow, I'm just here along the ride because God, you have a plan and you're taking it somewhere way greater and better than what I could ever realize. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Any last thoughts from you as we close out?
Nope.
How have you felt on this journey as you look back? I mean, did you think we would ever?
No. And again, we didn't aspire. We don't aspire for large things, really.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I was content when it was just our 12 kids.
Yeah, I was content. We thought we would be here 13 years later, maybe just have 12 kids that we're pouring into.
And I was content with that to the point where I remember when we were starting to add help because we needed help. I was like nervous about that. Yeah, I was very nervous about the idea of bringing people in and how would that work. Yeah. So I agree.
And in some ways, overall, like it's been woven into the DNA of our ministry is we kind of avoid the spotlight. Yeah. We avoid newspaper articles and media stuff. Yeah. And even as we were going to do this building, we're like, I was looking at Dan kind of like, how are we going to stay under the radar? Yes. It's like, I don't think we're going to be able to anymore. And there's that. We didn't think, man, when we start Transformation, we just want to grow it and be huge and just have a huge platform. No. That's never been like a driving motivator for us. No. In fact, that's been something we've kind of been like, I don't want to be known like that. Right. Let's just stay in our little lane and do our little stuff. Exactly. But God's been like, no, I want you to continue to do more, but not for yourself. Not for your own brand or name, but for this community. Right. And I think the motivating factor is the kids knowing when you know that you have something that can help and benefit kids that you love, like you do want to share it. Mm-hmm. You know, you're like, this is working in a way. Like we've seen kids thrive and change and find abundant life that God's talking about and find God. And so it's like, I want to share that. Mm-hmm. For that reason. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. This has been fun. Yeah, we've gone over our time. It's kind of like a little date, though. That was fun. No kids right now. I'm just enjoying our coffee. Right. I could talk forever. Just maybe we'll do a part 2 episode. Oh, man, please do. Thanks for inviting me on your podcast. Again, you've been a phenomenal host, and I just appreciate being a part of this. It's been fun. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are so thankful that you joined us on this journey. And again, as Kory said, if you know of anyone that this would be a great podcast to share with someone as you continue to share the vision of what God's doing here in South Bend.